don't think your parents were worthy of having a son like you guys.
Thank you, Tom.
To be honest, and I don't think they understood your potential
No.
because of their own limitations, so they weren't able to receive what you had to offer them as a son.
No. Well, no one could have a better son than you, that's for sure. I've been blessed, thank you.
I have my limitations, obviously, being human, but I tried regardless. You know.
I can't imagine a better son. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really can't.
Thank you.
I've been blessed. That's my boy.
Welcome back, everybody, to Jung To Live By. Now, today we're very excited to introduce the latest member of our team, Gareth Richards.
Right.
How are you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah.
We thought we'd bring you on because we've been talking about like masculine related things in terms of the father and the experience of a son from his mother and stuff like that, as well as women's experience, of course. I was wondering what, in the broadest terms, of course, I know it's kind of throwing you in at the deep end, but that's all right. What you thought about the culture at the moment, and as a young man growing up in the particular culture that you did.
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you not like? Does it serve you? Are issues that you can see?
I think one thing that stands out to me particularly is the difficulty that young men have finding meaningful relationships, especially with the boom in social media, and obviously the boom from that in dating social medias like Tinder, Bumble. Yeah, I think because the pool is so large now for women, they literally have the pick of the litter out of everyone, whereas men don't so much. Because
So you reckon then these social media things have sort of put all men into the same hierarchy?
Pretty much, yeah. There's probably a lot of... It's given maybe more undesirable women the chance to have a breeding partner, essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They wouldn't have already had that opportunity had it not been for Tinder, and it makes it very difficult then for men to, you know, find one themselves because there's so much competition for that. I'm probably not really getting this across properly. I've not really rehearsed it, but
no. It's, I was talking to someone recently about this. It was a girl actually, and she was talking about in order to get a man, she needs to update her Instagram profile. I found that fascinating because it's almost as if
very
you
superficial,
have to,
isn't it?
It is, but almost like because everyone's in that arena,
Yeah.
it's like they almost have to engage in that arena.
Yes.
So part of your dating persona has to be on social media.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
have to have a
chat with
presence,
lads before as well, and they're like, this is how you get a Tinder profile going.
Yeah.
One of them has got to be with you with a dog.
Yeah.
And you with a suit, and then you doing some kind of sport.
It's the same formula, isn't it? Over
What
and
the
over again.
hellfire is going on?
Yeah, and you can't just say hello to someone because everyone says hello to someone. You have to say hello in a very elaborate way that grabs their attention. It's overcomplicated, I think, now for men to try and have any sort of meaning within the relationships and to form those relationships. Really, you know. It's lost its humanity in many ways. I think, you know, and that human connection.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you on that. I think it also exposes you as well in that regard to more rejection. Then.
Yes.
Because, you know, you're limited by your town or your village or your tribe, so the amount of rejection is going to be lower. But on Instagram, you could be rejected by 1 million women at once. Yeah. What the hell is that going to do to a man's confidence? It's just screwed.
Yeah, especially if they've already got low self-esteem as well, and then they try and put themselves out there, and then they come up against this rejection. It's just gonna cripple them, isn't it? I mean, you know. So I think the way to combat it is to invest in yourself and to reject it really, and to go out into the world and form meaningful relationships with people and meet real people. And the more people that do that, the less power these companies have, because they've essentially got a monopoly on the dating market. It's just a revenue generator for them, but it's causing terrible social issues, I think, for men. You know, I think the cure is literally to inject humanity into dating again.
So if that's correct, I think it probably is correct. Yeah, it advantages the people who see that then. Yeah. Because you've now stepped outside, and now no one's in the streets approaching women. That's the thing as well. It's like they've done like experiments in like universities. And they've asked women, like, what happens if a man approaches you? And they've all gone, "That's weird." Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it's. But is it though? Really? And I think they would still respond to it. But I guess women have never.
Yeah, I think they would. Yeah, it's just as long as you're not creepy about it.
Well, no, exactly.
Yeah, it's context, isn't it? It's the context in which you do it, I guess, and how you do it. You know, and you've got to be comfortable, I think, with being on your own as well, and being by yourself before you can go out and form those relationships.
Yeah.
I guess
to bring yourself, Steve, on this. Obviously, I presume you've not gone Instagram dating. And
No.
this kind of thing.
No.
What was the process like back in your day?
I guess it depended what age you were at, really. There weren't discotheques. Pauline's the other side of the camera. Discos and just school, and then opportunistic. Really, it was mainly that, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
And I met you opportunistically.
Yeah.
That's the way it happens. I guess.
You were after a T-spec, weren't you? I think.
Yes, we're all nights. Yeah. Happened upon your house. Yeah, it's just random, wasn't it? Like that.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, okay, because something I've noticed too with our generation, Gareth, is people, at least thinking about myself in school and friends from school, most of the people they're either not in relationships or they're in relationships that they call relationships. Yeah. So they're like texting, or they go, it's not, no substance. No, absolutely nothing.
It's like the other person's just a thing to be acquired. Yeah. Rather than to have a connection with someone.
Like a social label or something. Yeah. But I'm wondering there in that context, Steve, what say you're around our age, like mid-20s. What was the proportion like for yourself growing up in terms of like men and women actually having those meaningful relationships?
Oh, quite high, I would say, by then, wouldn't you, Paul? Quite high.
Yeah, definitely.
Most people were settling down quite young.
Yes, they were.
In those days.
Well, we wouldn't have thought of ourselves, I suppose, as being young, particularly.
No.
I was working and married and had a home at 19, and I didn't think of myself as being young.
You had a house at 18.
I did,
with me, didn't you? We were together from you were 16.
I think there was a lot more self-responsibility.
Yeah.
For things and for being resourceful, because you had to be.
Yeah, but the culture did facilitate that.
Yes, it did.
Isn't here now. The culture doesn't facilitate that.
Yeah.
Because we were young and we were operating in an adult, determined world.
We were.
And now this generation have grown up in a different.
They have.
World. The generation before our generation, shamefully, some of them have not managed that properly and have not given them the ecology.
Oh, I agree.
To adapt. Like it was different for our parents, wasn't it?
It was different again.
For us, it was freer for us than it was for them.
Yeah. But there was nothing in the way of that, in so much as because we didn't have the internet and we didn't have social media like it is today. You were forced back on yourself to establish relationships. You had to give more of yourself to it.
Well, to ring you up, I had to go to a phone box.
Well, that's right. And I used to have to
public phone box.
Yeah. You had to actually put effort in.
Yes. And you would say, I'm going to ring you at the phone box up the road, and I'd have to run up to it at a certain time to answer the call.
So your dad couldn't prevent you communicating with me.
Yeah, and it was like, I hope nobody goes in the phone box before I get there, because it will just screw everything up. Yeah.
I'm going to spoil the romantic mood a little bit, just a tiny bit, because it's an accessibility problem as well. Because I think, as you pointed out, Gareth, you can just pick up whatever you want and just tap to any girl you want or any boy you want immediately. Whereas in that case, you couldn't. It was invested.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
It's the instant gratification generation.
Yes.
It's fed into dating, I feel.
Yeah. The competition was still there, though. Chairs are squeaking, aren't they? The chairs are being intimate. Rubbing up against one another in a socially inappropriate way. The competition was still there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was. I don't know what it's like now, but people would plan, in my experience, to frustrate others and would bring on groups and even institutions in order to arrange things to sabotage a relationship just for the hell of it.
They would. They would.
Oh yeah, they would.
Yeah. I
think
that
kind of thing would happen a lot.
Definitely. I think coming back to the social media thing again, there was less narcissism too. People were less concerned about how they appeared and how, because you didn't have any way, for example, of altering your image or the way that you looked. You just looked the way you look and you made the best of yourself, but you weren't so concerned about adjusting all the pixels and making sure that your teeth were perfect or your hair all fell into place. I mean, there's a lot more self-obsession now than there was back in our day.
There was. if our generation had been exposed to what this generation, we would be the same.
I agree, absolutely. It's not a criticism at all.
I know you don't mean it that way, but just to be clear, we don't mean that.
No, we don't.
We were lucky,
I
think, looking back, in that we had a facilitative environment. So we were on the tail end of the 60s, weren't we?
Yes.
And the counterculture and the hippies and that kind of thing.
Yes, very
and
much
then the generation before us did everything that they did to give our generation a free health service, free education. Everything was great, and then it went wrong.
Yeah.
It went wrong in the late 70s. And never really.
When everything was privatised.
Margaret Thatcher, who stabbed this country in the heart, and then Tony Blair murdered its soul. We're in that state now.
Yeah, we are.
So that's not being partisan politically. They both screwed this country.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too is, as far as I'm aware, your guys' generation didn't have political correctness.
No.
Oh no, not at all.
That's enormous.
No.
Yes.
Absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it growing up. Maybe it's because it was Catholic education. That came with its own problems. I remember in primary school, a kid asked, we were doing sex ed, and the kid put his hand and was like, "What's a condom?" And it was like 10 or 11 or something. So it's not. And we're doing sex ed, and the teacher was like, "That's a question for your parents. We are a Catholic school. We do not answer such things here." And you wonder why they all get pregnant and things.
Yes.
But so it came with its own problems like that. But the political correctness stuff is sort of kicked in maybe like 5-6 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
It's creeping up and up and up and up and up. And
it's got like worse, but it was in the 90s.
From tracking the history of it, apparently it was in the 90s and it went away again for a bit.
Yeah.
And then it kind of came back again.
Well, I can remember even when Gareth was little, books were starting to change and nursery rhymes and stories were being altered so that they were politically correct. So you're right, it was creeping in the 90s.
When we were at school, everyone had to win a prize.
They did.
Gareth won a sprint, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And he was going so well, he was able to banana offline, come over to us and then go back and win the race. He didn't get a prize.
No, everybody did.
But he didn't, including the loser.
Oh yeah.
What? Why did you give a prize to a loser? They lost.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just reinforcing laziness, aren't you, and mediocrity really by behaviourally.
Yes,
it is.
You are.
Whether you win or not.
It suggests that there's no point in being a winner as well. I mean,
exactly,
yes.
Yeah.
Which is insidious, really.
It's just trying to squash that desire for status.
Yes, it's a levelling thing, isn't it? It's an attempt to level everybody.
People who go out into life and they wonder why no one will give them anything for not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because they've been spoon-fed through school, through university for doing F all, and then they go to an employer and it's like, I want £15 an hour for flipping burgers. Well, you're gonna have to work harder if you want that, and progress up through life. Can't just have things.
So it's just turning people into political prostitutes, essentially. So they go out and they're like, oh, well, big government. And it's like everyone thinks it's a morality thing. It's not a morality thing, it's a fear thing that you've put into people. You either get the people who are crusaders, because they've been spoon-fed everything. That's still fear. And you've got people like young men, good-hearted young men, who've maybe not had that parental support that they needed, perhaps. But also the culture's put the fear of death into them. Yeah. In fact, I remember now from primary school, they had a racist book.
Really?
A big black book, not like Jung's red books, but they had a racist book. This was towards the end of primary school, and it was not a bad person book if you said something racist. And I remember that there was an encounter between a guy who was from like the Philippines and a guy who was like from England natively. And the guy from the Philippines goes up to the white guy, they're like 8, 9 years old, and goes, "You've got a big mole on your face." And he did, to be fair. He had a big mole on his face, but it was vicious. And then the other guy turns around and goes, "Well, you're brown." And they took him, put him in the racist book, which will be forever on his academic record as a racist. Put the fear of death into an 8 or 9 year old. It's fucking evil.
Branding children who have no real concept of what that is, do they?
It's the exact same thing in a way to when religion becomes inappropriate. You can't do this because you're going to hell. The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to get fired up, I'm going to...
Well, it's not emphasised, it doesn't matter. I know that from school growing up, and also when I was in my original occupation, I worked with people from different ethnic backgrounds, and they were completely accepted, and they completely accepted those who weren't from that background, and the camaraderie was equal. Nobody said anything. There was not a problem. Not a problem at all, but the minute you say a problem exists and then manipulate that politically, politics is about power.
Oh yeah.
That's all it's about. Power and control. And if there's any exploitable characteristic, then politicians have either pole will exploit it. Wrong.
Yeah.
But I think to echo what you were saying again, Gareth, like return to yourself. You were saying work on yourself.
Yes, invest in yourself, and you will attract decent people into your life and decent things that way. You know,
I think that's as I've slowly matured in myself, that's definitely started to happen.
Yeah, definitely. You've got to become what you want to attract, essentially, don't you? Otherwise, you can't expect it to come to you.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
You can't let the culture take you down. It's not. No. It's not fair. If you do that, you've just been born to be a political prostitute.
Yeah.
And it's like that is slavery of the mind.
Never disrespect yourself.
No.
Ever.
No.
Just to double back on what we were talking about previously in relation to Tinder, a few people in my friend group have left Tinder to try and form meaningful relationships in the real world, and even if they fail in doing so, at least they've respected themselves by doing that, and they've been true to their own values. And I think that's worth more than shacking up with the wrong person just for the sake of being with someone. So at least you can live your life knowing you've lived it properly by yourself.
Yeah.
In my view.
Yeah. Once you leave those statusy games, then you look back and be like, well, what the hell was this all about?
Yeah.
Even in terms of groups of lads who are like fighting with each other with bravado, so once you leave, it's kind of like, what was the point of that? Yeah. It's like children. It's almost like the promiscuous side of stuff, or engaging in relationships that aren't meaningful, is like a child playing.
Essentially, it's just...
What does this do?
It's going through the motions, isn't it? And it's very unconscious because no one really assesses as to why they're still with that person if it isn't right. But it's part of the process, I guess, of becoming conscious of yourself and what you want out of life.
Yeah. No, how many people, what proportion of the population is secretly miserable on the inside because of this?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's going to be like triple figures, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think be true to yourself, invest in yourself, and if it's meant to be, it'll happen for you. But you still need to take action and go out into the world and form those relationships, or at least attempt to, I would say.
Definitely. We released a video, it must be maybe the last one we did, we're not quite sure, we're filming many things in one day and all the shows are mixed up, but about, Steve, you told a story obviously about your own masculine confirmation from Mike, was it, in the police?
Yes, it was a replacement for what my father should have done and what my elder brother should have done, and it was in a real situation, and I wasn't traumatised at the time, but thinking back I see its significance. The actual impact of it was subliminal, and kept me orientated towards the role that I was in, and allowed me to face other things. I didn't understand the significance of it. I kind of did, but not really, not in depth. It's only now when I look back, I was very appreciative of what he did, because it wasn't just then, as you know, it's for both Pauline and I. But Pauline and I both tried over the years to support other people. I've always had that in my mind. I'm pretty sure Pauline has too. She's nodding. That we would help other people in the same way. And there is a guy who retired as a superintendent. I won't mention him.
Oh yes.
I mentored him, and he went through the ranks, and he achieved a great deal. And when he was a chief inspector, many years after I've left the police, he wrote me a lovely email saying, "I never forgot what you taught me."
Yes.
And I've had other people say that as well, and I put that in a lineage back to Mike Eveley, what he did for me. I thought I'll do something like that for others. But it was a nice message from him.
It was a very nice message, and I think one of the significant things about him actually is that he had a very, very, and still does, his father's still alive although he's in his 90s, has always had a very positive relationship with him. He was very fortunate in that regard.
He
He obviously recognised those qualities, and you as a young Bobby was showing him around the beat, and he expressed his gratitude to you later in life, and that was very, very moving.
Yes, it was, and I tried to mentor as many young men as I could in that regard, but look at the softer underbelly of policing and relating to people. That was important to me, and how to get into a community, not for a forensic sort of way, but to really get to understand people. That's always important to me. I remember you knew one of them because of your former job, but he was a notorious guy, wasn't he? And I remember he was sat down outside of a block of flats on the curb with all of them. And I went over to them and sat in the middle of them, took my hat off and just sat with them. and that changed the relationship immediately.
It would do. So it's levelling, isn't it?
It's levelling.
It's proper community policing, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah. I know exactly who you mean. The guy that used to cut himself, had scars.
He had a lot, He was quite a notorious guy, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Things like that. And then there was that guy, I know the name, I won't say his name, but again, I was given a warrant to go and arrest him.
Oh, I do remember that.
And we knew his father. His father was a taxi driver, wasn't he? I went to see him, and he was with his girlfriend, and she looked really sad, and I just said to him, you know you'll go down for this. And he said, yeah. So I said, well, have one. Sorry. One night with your girl, and then you bring yourself into the station tomorrow, but have a night with your girl. And so I said, you do know if you don't, they'll come for you, and it won't be me, it'll be others. And he said, yeah, I will, I promise you I will. And I went back in, and I saw the warrants officer, who was a sergeant, and he said, no, I didn't serve the warrant, he was there, but what? I said, he'll come in tomorrow morning. What? I said, yeah, I know him. I know that community. He will bring himself in. He's having one last night with his girl, and he'll be no trouble to anyone. He'll come in tomorrow, and he did.
Well, that's when the police serve the people.
Yeah, and that increased the respect.
Oh, without a doubt.
In that area.
Yes.
But it was a mutual respect. We respected that relationship.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't one out of fear. It was one of like you say, of levelling yourself and having that basic humanity and rapport with ordinary people. Yeah.
Anyway,
it worked.
It's an aside.
And but it worked. That's the point. That approach worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they are really touching stories. Steve,
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, so it's okay. I'm sorry to be so sensitised now. So
no.
Emotional discharge.
Again, we encourage people to get in touch with their instincts on the channel. So Jung To Live By.
Yeah, we do. I did have an instinctive feel. I remember a chief inspector. He's deceased now, Glyn McLaren.
Yes.
Who was, how should I put it? He was a nicer guy than he wasn't a nice guy. But he had, as everybody does, that other side to himself that was quite hard and about that community. And he hauled me over once and he said, look, you're not a social worker, you're a police officer. And I said, well, the thing is, the crime rate's going down on my beat. Not only that, there were no riots when they broke out everywhere over Merseyside.
Yeah.
And they had people out there doing tension indication to find out if there's not going to be a riot on my patch. I said, that's it, that's what policing is. And later he acknowledged that.
Yeah.
And I was asked to lecture in community policing after the 1981 Toxteth riots at the Force Training Establishment at Mather Avenue as it was then. And I said, this is how you do it. You have to talk to people. You have to reach them. You have to know everybody and everybody knows you. And you're there for the people you serve. And that was it. That was the way to do it as I saw it.
Well, I'm curious from your perspective then, Gareth.
Yes.
One, because you're a young man.
Yeah.
And two, because you are Steve's son.
Yes.
Obviously, and these videos have been seen. I don't know if you know this, Steve. Actually, they've been seen.
I do know he's my son. Yeah.
Well, the videos have been seen about 250,000 times.
Wow.
In total right now.
Yeah.
So obviously, that's 250,000, not individual people, but who'd be interested in the relationship. But obviously, hearing from yourself, and forgive me if it's too personal. Of course, we can cut anything out of this. What do you think the importance of, Steve?
Yes.
In general, was to yourself growing up?
He provided a proper masculine framework for me to develop as a man, and I think that's been crucial in getting through the hardships that I've faced in my life now. And I think that's the role of a real father.
Thank you.
Yeah. In short.
Thank you, son.
Yeah, I think without that, I wouldn't have been strong enough to have endured what I have within the past 12 months within my own life. So it's given me that mental resolve really to push through things.
And you think that's what a lot of people are missing?
I do, yeah. I think the world needs more real men and real masculinity. Young men do anyway. They need that going through adolescence. Otherwise they're lost.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a confusing thing, isn't it? Masculinity. I think so many young guys. I think everyone wants to be a man.
Attached to it, haven't they? Recently,
it has. It has. I mean, what would you don't have to define it in words, but it's like, what is masculinity for yourself then? Having had a particular style of father, of course, Steve, growing up and experiencing the things that you have.
Having an indomitable spirit and an unshakable resolve, I would say, in the face of hardship.
Indomitable spirit.
Yeah. One that can't be overcome. Yeah. I think that drive's important. And it's been important for building civilizations, and defending civilizations. Not to negate the importance of femininity. I think that's also very important in,
of course,
not to overshadow that.
Of course, I think you can sense it when a man has that as well.
Yes,
like it's simultaneously a warmth, but it's also a please don't fuck with me.
Yes,
something like that.
It's essentially carrying a sword, isn't it? It's like the adage of a knight, I believe you mentioned once, where it's a good, upstanding, moral person who's gentle and kind, but they carry a weapon, and they'll kill you if you cross them or you cross the family, and that's important. I feel, especially for decent people to have to carry a sword.
Yeah.
Just be abused otherwise.
Oh yeah.
By not by weak people.
And I think nothing hurts a man's spirits. I mean, there are a few things, but more than allowing weak people to go play with you. And it's weak in a visceral sense that you do not define, but you feel.
Yes.
The neediness, the patheticness.
Yeah.
But it should just be.
It's all external with them, isn't it? With weak people, they project a fake masculinity in a way which crumbles under pressure. With all the ape posturing and. When you get into arguments with people and that, and behind it, it's empty. There's nothing there.
You can break it down with just a single stare.
Yes, exactly.
Then the sadness comes out because it's like, where did you go wrong? Or more likely, what the hell was done to you to get you so wrong?
The people who need help, really.
Yeah. More than ever, perhaps any time in human history.
They find themselves first before they can be helped, I feel.
Completely agree.
Yeah. Just a perspective within my own limitations and life experience, I guess. No doubt things will change as I get older, maybe, and perspectives tweaked. And
I have a sneaky suspicion, looking into the future, that the audience will agree with you.
I hope so.
I think more and more people are getting sick and tired of this shite being pushed all the time.
Yeah.
Something's going to give, hopefully in a positive way. But this is not going to go on for much longer.
No, I certainly hope not.
The instinct is far stronger. The shite that's being peddled in the news and in the schools.
Yeah. Spirit
will always prevail. Always.
Yeah. You have to assess as to whether are we talking about lockdown and the
well, that's just one example of many, isn't it?
Yeah. We're getting to the point where the cure's worse than the threat, the perceived threat. What it's doing to people.
Suicide rate for young men in particular skyrocketing. Government taking everything away and pretending that this thing is the Black Death.
Yeah, it's just a slow death instead, isn't it?
Yeah.
You destroy people's livelihoods. They can't eat. They starve to death. They die of exposure on the street. They kill themselves. And it's a sad reality.
That's when we need real men or real masculinity, which in
the face of those hardships, to stand up for what's right.
And I think that's the key point
as well. Exactly.
Like there's the moral aspect too, which I think there's so many masculine spheres on the internet. Forget this. It's just like, I'm manly man. It's like, get to fuck.
It's empty, isn't it? It's empty posturing.
Yeah, it is.
Load of monkeys.
It is. It's a return to that. Don't go back to Paleolithic consciousness. It's that medieval consciousness.
Yes, it is.
So much better.
It's refined, isn't it? A refined masculinity rather than that baser, primitive, driven, ape posturing kind of.
The women will always go for that more knightly version than I'm a homo habilis walking around.
Being balanced, isn't it? Being balanced.
Yeah.
I think having the emotional side and having that other side as well.
Yes, completely agree.
Yeah.
Anima development.
Yes,
as we say on the channel.
Absolutely.
Just if I can just add, I hope this is not intrusive of me to say that.
No, of course not.
as a father who never received confirmation from his own father, he never once said he was proud of me in his whole life. I did say to Gareth, I hope he remembers, that I've reminded him a few times that I'm obviously older than him, and I will probably never live to see him hit his peak, the peak of his life and his development. So, told him that I'm proud of him in advance of not being there to see him at his best. I know that's important. And I don't want to steal anything by being emotional. Like, this is a father to a son, you know.
Yeah, well, that's another thing. I think it's important for men to be able to show that sort of emotion.
But I will probably not live to see him hit his peak, and I'll never know. I'll never know what that will be and what his ultimate life's achievements will be. But I don't need to know, because I know what he's got in his heart. And that's enough. And that's enough for me to say that to him, that I know that he will hit that peak, and I'm proud of him now. And when I'm gone, if he can take that with him as a memory of me, then that'll be a lot for me. That'll be a completion, in some sense, that I can be satisfied with as a father. That at least I told him that I'm proud of him as a human being. I've watched him grow, and I've seen what he's been through. I've seen his indomitable spirit in the face of terrible things that have been tried at him, and he never gives in. He fights for what is right. I am incredibly proud of him, and just to say, it's important for a father to complete his side of things too, so he doesn't leave anything behind.
You've also just created that memory.
Negative.
You've also just created that memory on camera.
Yeah.
And you've just declared, put the flag in the ground in front of thousands of people, that's what you believe.
Yes, I do. I mean, I've told him privately, it's not a stunt. This is not a stunt.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I have told him, because I've had to come to terms with the fact that I was 38 when I had Gareth. I could have been 10, 15 years younger than that and would have had a bit more time. And I would have seen him hit his peak, but I will not live to see him my age. And I'm achieving things now in certain areas of my life, and certainly my father, who died in 1998, he didn't see a lot of what I achieved, and he never acknowledged that which I did. And that could be because he couldn't help it, because of how he was treated. But that's incomplete. That can't be completed. But at least I can say that. So when he gets to my age, at least he'll know. Is that what proud of him? Sorry.
Thank you, guys.
Sorry, son. That was not a stunt, but I just thought, fucking hell, I've got to say it.
Yeah. Just getting back to what you were saying before. I don't want to sound too personal in saying this. I don't think your parents were worthy of having a son like you, guys.
Thank you, son.
To be honest, and I don't think they understood your potential. No. Because of their own limitations, so they weren't able to receive what you had to offer them as a son.
No. Thank you.
From what I've heard and what I've witnessed over the my lifetime.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
it's nice to be confirmed by your son.
Yes.
When your father didn't. It's like, no, but it is. That's important.
Yeah.
Thank you. That helps to square things for me. Thank you, son. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I'm just speaking from my heart,
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bless you for that.
Thank you. So you shouldn't use it to harm yourself with. It's not good. It's not. It's not your fault.
Thanks. Thank you. I know I'm going to have a better son than you, that's for sure. I've been blessed, thank you.
I have my limitations, obviously, being human, but I try regardless.
I can't imagine a better son. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really can't.
Thank you.
I've been blessed.
Thank you.